Pokémon is a series with no need for an introduction. Ever since its inception in 1996, it's become a beloved franchise for people of all ages, whether it be Pokémon trainers, anime enjoyers, card collectors, competitive battlers, and all other Pokémon masters. This franchise made its way into the hearts of many people around the globe. That includes myself. My first exposure to Pokémon was thanks to the anime and the commercials for the current generation at the time, that being Generation 4, which coincidentally became my starting point into the mainline series. I was one of those kids lucky enough to find a game cartridge lying around, which was very common at the time. I put it in my DS, booted up the game, and all I remember was killing Skuntanks and killing Regigigas. I didn't understand what was happening, but I was content. Eventually, I learned how these games were meant to be played. You have 3 objectives: progress the story, get badges to challenge and become the champion of the region, and finally, complete the Pokédex. It was also around this time I learned that Pokémon games are released in sets of 2 versions, both versions slightly differing in story and exclusive Pokémon in order to encourage trading amongst friends. Sadly, I didn't get that far in the game, and I lost the cartridge. I finally mustered up the courage to commit myself to beating one of these games, and what a good time too, as Game Freak recently released remakes of my very first Pokemon game, and they're very faithful to the original, so it's like I'm picking it back up right where I left off. And thanks to the internet and friends with these games, I'll finally be able to trade in between versions, something I was never able to do originally. Overall, I'm pretty excited for... Oh, I got the bad version. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl start off with a news broadcast referencing the second generation's Lake of Rage event. Our character and our rival Barry decide to go to the local lake in hopes of catching a red Gyarados themselves, but are instead attacked by some wild Pokemon. We ended up having to defend ourselves with some Pokeballs that we found in an abandoned suitcase belonging to the famous Professor Rowan, a researcher in Pokemon evolution, whom, upon learning about what happened at the lake, decided to let us keep the Pokemon we took from his bag. But in return, he asks that we help him fill out the Pokédex while traveling with our new companions, and on our travels, we fought many battles, caught many Pokemon, and challenged a bunch of gym leaders in order to qualify for the Pokemon League. It's also after defeating the first gym leader that we learn about Team Galactic, an organization with the goal of creating a new universe, so now not only do we have to catch them all and be the best that no one ever was, but now I have to stop a genocidal maniac from resetting the universe. So I ventured around Sinnoh, collected 7 gym badges, stopped Team Galactic by catching the legendary Pokemon they were going to use to start a new universe. In Brilliant Diamond, it's the Pokemon of Time, Dialga. In Shining Pearl, it is the Pokemon of Space, Palkia. Afterwards, I challenged the final gym, went to the Pokemon League, challenged the Elite Four, who are the final challenge before the champion, and then beat the reigning champion. That's the simplest way of describing the plot of the game. However, what made my playthrough different was that I took full advantage of the trading and transferring system the second I got the chance. I didn't worry about the Pokédex at all, as I had already transferred all my Pokemon from Legends Arceus and back just to get the entries. Trading was something I always wanted to do, but I didn't have access to it because I liked people to trade with when I was a kid, so the first thing I did was move my Shiny Furret and Ampharos from Pokemon Go into BDSP, and trade some Pokemon with friends who had the other exclusive Pokemon from Brilliant Diamond. My team for the early game consisted of Chimchar, Kricketot, Badoo, Starly, Kaza the Abra from Orberg, and my shiny Ampharos. Badoo made quick work of the first gym leader, Roark, but the star of his team knocked out Badoo, so Chimchar ended up beating his dinosaur to death. Beating the first gym gave me access to the move Rock Smash, which I used to make my way up to Floroma Town, where I then proceeded to stare at an old couple that gave you a Mew for owning Let's Go and Jirachi for owning the Gen 8 games. They are the sole reason I have every Pokemon game on my Throne wishlist. We made our way into a power plant where Team Galactic had been trying to steal energy and took a girl's father hostage. It's there where my team faced off against Team Galactic Commander Mars. As a kid, I liked her design, and I still do to this day. After defeating them, I freed the girl's father and made my way to the next town. On our way, Kaza evolved into a Kadabra, met a cute girl named Cheryl in the woods, went on a double date beating up all the other couples in the woods. She ditched me once we got to the exit, and now we're in Eterna City, where I met a random goth girl who taught me how to cut. Like the move. But I can't use the move until I beat the second gym leader, and since it's a grass type gym, I just burned it to the ground with my starter. Speaking of ground, this led me to unlocking the Grand Underground. I didn't really understand the Underground as a kid, and I thought the Grand Underground was just going to be a big confusing mess. But I was surprised at just how much content there was, and I've spent hours in there. I didn't care about Pokemon that spawned in there, I just wanted to mine. But I eventually had to leave to save a bike shop owner whose Pokemon were kidnapped by Team Galactic. At the top floor of the building, I found a bike shop owner confronting Team Galactic Commander Jupiter. I'm pretty dumb and I can't really understand type advantages for the life of me, so I had no idea what worked against Skuntank, and it almost wiped out half my team. It's here where I find out that Team Galactic's boss is researching mythical Pokemon and plans on using their power for some reason. It's not entirely clear yet, but I didn't care, I just wanted the red bike. Nothing much happened from there. I got the Versus Seeker, I went back to Jubilife City, went around exploring, caught a Geodude, met a random dude in a cave, and eventually made my way back to Heartome City. In Heartome City, I got a Pokemon egg that apparently came from Johto, and I loved the callback to Professor Elm. I also tried the Poffin minigame, I met Disgrace in the kitchen, and I also got the ability to have a Pokemon walk with me. Heartome City is also where you find out that your mom in the game is a Pokemon contest star, or used to be, I'm not exactly sure. Either way, I got trapped playing the rhythm game for the rest of the night because it was just so much fun, and off screen I hatched the egg and it turned out to be a Happiny. It was also around this time I decided to move Courtney the Gengar from Legends Arceus into BDSP. That's right everyone, the legend of Courtney the Gengar lives on. Anyways, the gym leader in Heartome City was busy, so I went to Veilstone City, where I challenged the fighting type gym, and I did the weird sliding door puzzle. It took me a bit to figure it out, but I got through it, and I eventually made it to Melee. Maylene? Is her name Maylene? I don't even know how to pronounce her. I didn't even care. Kazza dominated this gym until she pulled out Lucario, to which I retaliated by using Megan the Pincer. I caught him in the Grand Underground, and using Megan, I obtained the Cobble Badge. Continuing the journey, I traveled down south and found the Rune Maniac cave, where some dude named the Rune Maniac challenged me to a race to see who can get done the fastest, him digging a cave or me collecting Unknown. So I saved the game, opened up Pokemon Home because I already caught every form of Unknown in Legends Arceus, I loaded back into Shining Pearl, and he dug through the mountain into Selacion Town ruins. Instantly. And that's when I realized Selacion Town wasn't completely empty, so I went back to the main entrance, but the ruins were just as boring as Selacion Town itself, so I just continued on. I met the game developers, some weird dude who likes feet, and now I'm in Pastoria City. I caught a few Pokemon in the Safari Zone, fought Crashing Wake, the gym leader of Pastoria City, and then acquired the Fen Badge. After the gym, I ran into Cynthia again, and she asked me to deliver some medicine to her grandmother in Celestic Town. After giving her the medicine, she asked me to deal with a spaceman making bomb threats in front of the town's historical landmarks. To nobody's surprise, it's a galactic threat. Inside is some cave writing about a mythical trio of Pokemon that live in the Great Lakes of Sinnoh, and then I met Cyrus again. He was the weird dude I met in the cave in Eterna City. He said it's not the power he needs to achieve world domination, so he just leaves as if nothing happened. I decided to go back to Heartome City and challenge the gym leader since she finally returned. Fantina's fight was interesting. Can't say it was hard, but the healing was annoying, and the spinning in the background was just a means of distracting me. But I didn't let it stop me from getting the Relic Badge. Everything was going pretty easy. I did a little bit of grinding and Pokemon catching and went back to Jubilife and made my way to Canalave City. Also, I hatched a Cyndaquil from an egg. It's my favorite Pokemon, so I had to add him to the team. Then I ran across Barry again, who at this point has fought me about 4 or 5 times, and I just chose not to mention him at all because he is annoying and loses every time. I entered the town's gym, and the first thing I noticed is that it's a Steel-type gym. Flare the Chimchar and ZBO the Cyndaquil are both Fire-type Pokemon. Fire melts steel. I burned this place to the ground. After that, I reunited with Professor Rowan, his assistant Dawn, and Barry at Canalave Library to discuss the important information about the Pokedex progression and concerns about Team Galactic, but that was all interrupted by the earth shaking. Apparently, Team Galactic set off a bomb in Lake Valor on the other side of the region, and it can be felt from miles away. Team Galactic blew up the lake in an attempt to capture the Lake Guardian, and they succeeded. Team Galactic has launched a full assault to capture the Lake Guardians in an attempt to summon an all-powerful Pokemon that can potentially make a new universe. And it's here where we meet the final Galactic Commander, Saturn, tasked with capturing the Spirit of Willpower, and Mars at Lake Verity, tasked with capturing the Spirit of Emotion. And traveling north through the harsh blizzard, I arrived at Snow Point City, where I played around a bit in the snow and acquired the Icicle Badge from Candice. Find me in the comments for that. After defeating the gym, I met up with Barry, who failed to stop Jupiter from stealing the Spirit of Knowledge in Lake Acuity. Before going to confront Team Galactic in their main headquarters back in Veilstone City, I decided to go to the Iron Islands and acquire the Lucario egg. With egg in hand, I made my way through Team Galactic HQ and confronted Cyrus. He started spouting more nonsense about how he wanted to create an emotionless world, and how he's shocked the child defeated his plans. We battled, I won, and then I got a Master Ball. And then he tells me he'll be at Mount Cornet, the beginning of the Sinnoh region, and the place where he plans to start a new beginning. I freed the Lake Guardians who were trapped inside Team Galactic's secret lab, and Saturn is there to tell us that the Lake Guardians were needed to craft a red chain, the only way of summoning and controlling the Pokemon Cyrus plans on using for his devious plot. I make my way up Mount Coronet to see Cyrus summoning Palkia, the Pokemon of space. Me and Barry team up against Mars and Jupiter, and Cyrus thinks he's won, but the Lake Spirits come and free Palkia from the red chain, and everyone is in awe. Cyrus freaks out, battles me one final time, to which he loses. Finally, I decide to confront Palkia and capture it in an epic battle, but I did not do any research on this Pokemon at all, and it wiped out my whole team. And I'm not going to use my Master Ball because I'm saving that for another Pokemon. Actually, for this I had planned to stream myself shiny hunting a legendary for the first time, so I decided to truly prepare for this battle. So I got the move False Swipe, and in the recording I'm getting an electric type Pokemon, grinding levels, and getting a Pokemon that can learn the move Thunder Wave. At first I was going to get Electivire, but off camera I changed my mind and I got Rotom instead because it can learn both Thunder Wave and the move Trick, which is a move that allows me to give Palkia an item to prevent it from killing itself. I eventually stopped the hunt because I realized it would take too long and the video was already on its second month being recorded, and I didn't want to delay this video any further. So I just caught a normal colored Palkia and Sinnoh was saved, and that was 1/3 of the game's objectives completed. Continuing the quest for the badges, I made my way to Sunyshore City and completed the gym there, the 8th and final one, which was a breeze thanks to Kaza, who one-shotted every Pokemon in the gym leader's team. Now I've acquired every gym badge and I'm finally able to enter the Pokemon League, after beating Barry one final time. I challenged the Elite Four, died to Bertha, came back with different Pokemon, died to Flint, and on my third and final attempt, I beat all 4 of them. My Togetic named Adopted 2 evolved into Togekiss, and I'm now ready to challenge the champion of the region, who turned out to be Cynthia. The second I heard her theme echo in the room, I felt chills. I challenged her, and... I beat her first try. To some that may sound underwhelming, but to me this was an achievement. It truly shows just how much my team has grown and how much I've grown, and beating the strongest trainer in Pokemon history is something to be proud of. And with that, I entered the Hall of Fame, registered my winning team, and officially became known as the champion of the Sinnoh region. And with that, my story comes to an end as I ride my bike back home and recount the many twists and turns throughout my journey. Overall, one of my favorite endings for Pokemon. So, that's it. But there are a couple other things I should address about BDSP regarding gameplay and some of the other game's contents. Mostly just stuff I thought I should mention. Trading. I took full advantage of it. Rather than all my Pokemon being caught in Shining Pearl, I used Pokemon I caught from other games, or traded with people from other parts of the world. There's no rule that says this counts as cheating. Trading is one of the staple mechanics of the mainline Pokemon series, although I have to admit I did feel a little bit ingenuine having certain Pokemon so early in the game. Battling online against other people was another thing I've always wanted to do. I remember back in middle school, some of my friends brought their DS's and they were battling each other. After seeing that, battling friends had felt like something important in Pokemon that I was missing out on for years, so when I got a chance to battle online, I did, and I lost horribly every time, but it was still fun. And it's obvious how different it is in comparison to fighting NPCs. While normal Pokemon trainers are just obstacles that constantly attack you, and the more harder trainers use heals to make the battles a little bit longer, playing against actual people is a completely different field, as everyone is well versed in competitive Pokemon teams already, something I fail to understand. Wonder Trade is a concept I was recently introduced to. It's basically trading a Pokemon but with strangers. You don't know what you're getting, and they don't know what they're getting. Really, it's just a gamble. You trade in a good Pokemon in hopes of getting another good Pokemon in return, but nothing is ever guaranteed. The Grand Underground is an upgraded version of the Underground from the original game. Basically, you mine crystals and other treasures, and some can be exchanged for Pokemon moves. There's also biomes that house different types of Pokemon, many exclusive to the Underground and can't be found anywhere else. It's really fun, and I ended up spending more time underground than I thought I would. Pokemon contests are just mini rhythm games. The original game had more to offer, but I still think it's kind of fun, just a little too simple and easy. Obviously, this isn't the best version of the game. The remakes are universally hated for being too similar and too faithful to the original, being too easy and having no Pokemon Platinum content whatsoever. Pokémon Platinum was an enhanced version of the Generation 4 games, which was an alteration to the story and gameplay. A better one at that. It added a lot more content and character development, and it's regarded as a definitive version and preferred version of the Generation 4 games. And I have to agree with all the people who share this opinion, but I didn't want to play Platinum, I wanted to play the original games. To many this was just a poor excuse for a remake, but to me it's just a game I haven't picked up in a long while, so it felt more nostalgic than anything. Actually, there was a bit of Pokemon Platinum content. The original costumes found in the enhanced version are in BDSP, as well as the Manaphy Egg, but it was only available within the first 4 months of the game's release, and a month after that was over, we got the 𝙎𝙄𝙊𝙔 event, which only lasted about a week. After that, the early purchase bonuses just became inaccessible data for people like me who couldn't get the game on release. But there's also non-early content in the game that's locked. Earlier I made a joke about an old couple in Floaroma Town and them being the sole reason I have every Pokemon game on my wishlist. Because this old couple is keeping rare Pokemon that are unobtainable unless you have a copy of the Let's Go games or a copy of the Generation 8 games. This is basically just the game's way of telling you can't truly complete the game unless you buy all the other games and the subscription to Pokemon Home so you can transfer them between the games. I had the same issue in Legends Arceus, where 2 Pokemon were locked from being obtainable unless I owned BDSP and Sword and Shield. And on the topic of Legends Arceus, I can't get Arceus on BDSP unless you capture Arceus in that game, which means to 100% BDSP you have to complete the main story and post-game for Legends Arceus. Luckily for me, however, there's a YouTuber by the name of Blaines who reports on Pokemon news and does giveaways every Sunday. At one point I accidentally traded Roselia for Shiny Deoxys, but that's besides the point. Thanks to him, I was able to get Shaymin in Legends Arceus and complete the Dex entry for it in both games. If it wasn't for him, I would have had to buy Sword and Shield, load up the game, save the game, go to Legends Arceus, do the Shaymin event, put Shaymin in my pasture, load up Pokemon Home, transfer the Pokemon into BDSP, and finally load up the game to have the entry. It's just incredibly dumb that the only way to have the full experience is locked behind an early event, a paywall, 2 subscription services, and 100% completion of another game. In regards to the post-game, I haven't done it yet. I prefer to do that on my own time, and again, the game is lacking all the things that Platinum brought to the table, so the post-game is pretty bland, only unlocking the Battle Tower and Romanus Park. Romanus Park is the only new addition to the game, replacing the Pal Park from the original. And Romanus Park is a place where you basically challenge all the legendary Pokemon from the past games, and in true Pokemon fashion, some Pokemon are version exclusive. You know, I used to regret never being able to beat a Pokemon game, and it was one of those things I always wanted to do, but I never got the chance to. My first Pokemon game was Forever Lost, and all other Pokemon games, partway through I just ended up dropping because everything just got much harder, and I felt like I wasn't doing anything right. I started overthinking about having the right Pokemon to beat the upcoming challenge, rather than enjoying the journey. Until I played and beat Legends Arceus a few months ago, which gave me the confidence to beat a real Pokemon game. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl aren't perfect. They come with their flaws, and obviously they aren't the remakes that the fans deserved or wanted. But to me, this was a second chance at finishing something I had started so long ago. Something that connected me back to my childhood roots in a different way. The Nintendo DS was my first console. Not the first one I played on by any means, but it was the first console I could call my own. And playing BDSP just brought back the memories, the same feelings I had picking up the DS as a kid, minus the lack of the second screen. Overall, I'm glad I finally did this, and now of all times, this whole adventure just filled me with a different level of nostalgia from the beginning to the end. And I finally understand why Sinnoh fans love the game so much, and now I can officially say, I have beaten Pokemon BDSP. It's finally over. It's finally over. I took so long trying to make this video right here. I'm an overthinker, so I kept remaking the stuff that I did, or rather I kept like remaking certain parts of the edit or overthinking it. Sometimes I just couldn't look at the video anymore, so I just like stopped editing for like weeks sometimes. I started this video in like I started editing this maybe like late September, early September, but I didn't have time because self-doubt, overthinking, so I started remaking stuff, and then I was just overall busy with school and whatnot, but I'm finally glad to have finished this video, and what a ride Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl was. It was really fun to play, it was really fun to turn into a video, and it was just so much fun. Honestly, if you want to play BDSP because it's Pokemon, go ahead and get the game. But if you want to play one with a better story and, you know, in my opinion, better graphics, I would recommend playing the DS version of the game. And you know, I can't forget about Legends Arceus either, although it's not like a traditional Pokemon game, and yeah, I'm kind of a sellout for getting the game for more content in another game. It's pretty fun. It's a lot of fun. Wait, I didn't buy this. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Working on the next video already, even before I upload this one. And if you want to support the channel, you can become a member, or if you want, you can go down to my wishlist in the description and you can help me upgrade my equipment, or you can get me a little game that I can review. Most of the games that I have on my wishlist are games that I wish to play and review, so, you know, you'd be helping me out there too. Anyways, I'll see you all in the next one. God bless, and thank you all so much again. Now it's time for me to go play Pilot Wings. Bruh, who could be knocking at my door at this hour? I wonder what this could be. Oh no.